Stop talking about comic books or I'll kill you. I don't care if the Hulk could defeat the Man of Steel.
Hey there, comic fam. Bullseye Bob here, and welcome to Everything Comics. And of course, this is another episode, the 31st episode of Having Comics with My Coffee. This is the show where I get together with you here at a local coffee shop, drink some great coffee, and I talk about the comic books that I pick up this week on New Comic Book Day. And of course, as always, I'm coming to you live and in living color from the Refuge Coffee House, which is located at 9217 Southeast Foster Road here in Portland. This is one of the best coffee houses out here. It's my favorite place to hang out and talk comics. If you're ever in town, look me up. I'll meet you here. We'll get some coffee. We'll talk comics, talk whatever you want. But I'd love to hang out with you. And like I said, this is the 31st episode. I am like way beyond belief that we've gotten to this point. And now I'm looking for that next penultimate issue number 50, the 50th episode. I'm gonna probably try to figure something out to make that episode special. But we got a little ways to go. But this is the 31st episode, so thanks for joining me. And before we get into the show, I do have a couple of announcements. So just a couple quick announcements. This week, if you haven't seen it yet, I dropped an unboxing video. It's called What's in the Box? And I got to unbox a lot of great things. I had a prize that I won from my good friend Rod the Rican, and then I had a mini comic haul that I bought from Eric Strubble online, which was just amazing. A lot of great Daredevil books, and he put a bunch of other stuff that I didn't even order in there, which made the haul just amazing. And then I also had a special Clayton Crane cover of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers number 50. If you haven't seen that, it's over the top amazing, and I showed that off. And then the creme de la creme of the unboxing, I had my CGC slabs come back from the books that I sent off for the great and legendary George Perez to sign. I had a great time. It was a lot of fun filming that video. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. Next, I know that I've been telling you that the private signing by Shannon Mayer is coming up. That's right, folks, we're coming up on the deadline. Deadline to get your books in is July 8th, but you can go to capturedcollectible.com and find out all the details on how to get your books in. You don't want to miss out on this one. I sent 4 books in, including the Venom 25, and what's really cool right now is if you do send that particular book in, Mark Bagley is also having a private signing with the same company, and so you can get Venom 25 signed by Shannon Mayer and Mark Bagley and get double for your trouble. Good stuff. Anyway, July 8th is the deadline. Make sure that you get your books in before then, because this is the first signing that Shannon has done since the whole pandemic, and who knows when we'll get to see him again. So get your books in, folks. And then last, of course, you guys know I'm on another show. I'm on Comics with Bueller, and every Monday we do the new Coffee and Comic Show, which is just an awesome time. I love getting together with Bueller and talking about deep cut comic book stuff, and having some coffee with them and just hanging out. And last week's video was pretty amazing. We talked about, did DC make the right decision by pulling out of Diamond? Man, I gotta tell you, there was a lot of comments on that particular subject. We really got into it, and it was a really cool video because Bueller did a lot of research on it. I'm just gonna call him Professor Bueller because it was awesome. If you haven't seen it yet, go check that one out. This week, we got a pretty cool subject, a little lighter subject, but it has to do with what got you into comic books. Was it a person? Was it an event that happened? What was the catalyst that got you into comic books? And if you want to get in on that conversation, you can go to Comics with Bueller, look for his preview video that dropped this last Wednesday, and leave a comment in the comment section, and maybe yours will get picked and it'll drive our conversation. But I'm on there every week with Bueller on the Comics with Bueller channel. If you haven't checked that channel out, you definitely should. He puts out some of the greatest content on YouTube, and you don't want to miss it. So that's it, folks. That's the end of the announcements. Let's go ahead and get into our show. And before I get into the reviews, I always like to show you my cover of the week. This week's cover of the week comes from Ronin Island number 12, and it's the B cover. This is not a book that I'm reading. I probably should be. I've heard a lot of great things about it, but this particular cover, out of all the covers that were released this week, just grabbed me. I love feudal Japan, and the scenery and the way this is colored just really stuck out to me. So that's it, folks. That's my cover of the week. Hope you enjoy it. I really love artwork, and this one was really, really well done. So let's go ahead and get into our reviews. And this week you'll notice there's no digital images on the screen because this is Friday, not actually Saturday, and I want to be able to get this video out by Saturday morning since it is 4th of July. So I'm going to cut a few corners and not do a lot of the downloading of images and having to place them all on the screen the way that they're supposed to be. And I'm just going to show you my physical books. It's been a while since I've done that, folks. The other thing you'll notice that there's a couple of books in here that were from last week's New Comic Book Day. I figure since there were no Marvel and DC that came out this week, I'm going to give you at least one DC and one Marvel book that came out from last week to kind of round out the week, because let's face it, there wasn't a lot of comic books that came out this week. So, but that's why you'll see a couple of books from last week. I think I made the right decision on that. Hope you enjoyed the reviews. Let's get into our first book. And the first book this week is Suicide Squad, issue number 6. This one comes from DC Comics. Of course, this is written by Tom Taylor, and the art on this one is by Bruno Redondo. Now, I keep telling you guys, this book has slowly become one of my favorite books to come out every month. I've not been a huge fan of the Suicide Squad in the last couple of years, but Tom Taylor has been writing this since issue number 1, and I think he's killing it. The comedy, I mean, there's deaths that happen, so there's some levity to what's going on. The whole adventure so far has been bombastic and just right up my alley, and I'm really digging it. And so in the wake of Task Force X being run by somebody other than Amanda Waller, we find out that Ted Kord has been pulling the strings. He brought 2 different teams together. A bunch of people have died so far, but in this book, they finally have broken free of the bonds of what normally drives Task Force X, which is the bombs in their neck. The bombs have been removed and they're on the run, and Ted Kord or somebody has basically sent a hit squad to come after the Suicide Squad, which drives them to, of all places, Gotham City. And who do you think that's going to attract? That's right, folks, the Batman. You see him there on the cover, and we get some great Batman action inside of this. He doesn't want Task Force X in his city, and so he comes after them. And in the middle of it, we have Floyd Lawton. That's right, Deadshot. He is basically going to create a way for everybody to escape. Now, what we find out inside of this book, which is kind of messed up, is that Harley Quinn and Deadshot have actually completed all their missions and should have been let go from Task Force X a long time ago. But nobody's told them. Amanda Waller was basically treating them like they were slaves. They should have been released a long time ago. So that happens inside of this book, which of course, that brings all kinds of issues up. But basically Floyd says, you guys get out of here. I'm going to distract Batman. And that's what happens. So we get this great action scene between Deadshot and Batman until finally Batman's going to beat him down. And that's when he basically says, hey, wait, and tells him the truth of what's going on. I got to tell you, the very last page of this book made me belly laugh. It is so funny. The last conversation between Batman and Deadshot inside of this book. Anyway, folks, if you're not reading Suicide Squad, it has been a lot of fun to read. I love Tom Taylor's writing. I think he's one of the best writers in the last year that has stepped up his game, and I'm really enjoying this book. So Suicide Squad number 6 from DC Comics. This is a great read, folks. And so now for our next book, folks. And the next book we have is Immortal Hulk number 34. Of course, this one is from Marvel Comics. This is written by Al Ewing, and art is by Butch Juice. And of course, we got cover art by the great Alex Ross. I've never heard of Butch Juice before, but his artwork really worked inside of this book. And so first of all, I just want to talk about the cover. I think this is going to go down as one of my favorite Alex Ross covers on this run. This will probably be put into one of my comic book frames right alongside of Immortal Hulk number 18, which is my favorite Alex Ross cover that he's done in so far. And I think it goes very well with this one because it's got the, the facial profile kind of the same. I love these Alex Ross covers. Every single one of them are amazing, but I think this one and Immortal Hulk number 18 are my favorites. So pretty much since issue number 25, this book has not been its old self. There's been some ups and downs as far as the writing goes, but I gotta tell you, this is my favorite book out of the run in a long time. This one focuses on the leader, as you can see. The whole book is about the leader. It really doesn't focus on the Hulk at all. And we get Al Ewing basically going and retconning the whole history of the leader. Now, we know that the leader has, a long history of Marvel Comics, and he's probably died more than any villain in the comic books. And Al Ewing uses that to his advantage inside of his story. So we basically watch all those deaths that the leader has had throughout history, and we basically see that he has a relationship with the One Below All and the Green Door. And so we have all these different resurrections, which makes, of course, another Gamma character immortal. And it was so much fun going back to the history of Sam Stearns and seeing how all of this connects to our current story. I think we're finally getting to the place where I think, at least for me, I'm understanding where he's going to take us with this. This run will end with issue number 50. But this was such a fun book. I think you could call it a one and done because it doesn't really connect to the main story too much besides back history and where he's going to take this particular character. This is the type of comic book writing that I absolutely love. And so, folks, this one is definitely a must-have for your collection. Immortal Hulk number 34, it's good stuff. Okay, so next we have On the Stump number 3 by Image Comics. This one is written by Chuck Brown and the art is by Prenzy. Now, I've really enjoyed this book in the very beginning, but I have to say that I'm pretty disappointed in this book as it stands now. There's still good things inside of here that happens, but I will say that at this particular point inside of the story, the writer is giving me not a single character to actually care about or to invest my time in. And because of that, there's places inside of the story where I've gotten lost. There's places where I'm trying to figure out, who's who, and so it's losing me, and it's losing me quick. I will have to say that the artwork I'm still really enjoying, especially the action. The action you can't beat inside of this. There is bone crunching, just brutal action inside of this, which is a lot of fun, but that can't be the catalyst for your book. Also, if you're going to write a book called On the Stump, you might as well take the characters and have them on the stump at some particular point rather than just the first scene of your book. I haven't seen any of the stump since the very first issue, and I think that was the greatest idea that they had. It still talks about government policy and all this stuff going on behind the scenes, which I guess is okay, but it's gotten away from what the original concept of the story is, and I'm kind of lost. And so, again, if you want to see some great action, this is a great one to pick up and just, follow through. But it's really losing me quick. I'll probably stay with the rest of the run just to collect it and then probably flip it, which I don't do very often. But this particular book, like I said, it's losing me quick. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Is anybody reading this? If you do, leave me a comment down in the comments section and let me know what you think. I don't know. Like I said, I'm disappointed in it. And on to our next book. And the next one we have is Olympia, number 5 from Image Comics. Huge week for Image this week. A lot of Image books inside of the reviews today. But this one is written by Kurt and Tony Pyers, and the artwork is by Alex Diato. Now, here's another book from Image that I'm sort of on the fence about. I hate to say that about this particular one, and it's not like badly on the fence. It's just a couple of points in the end that really kind of stuck with me. Other than that, this has been an amazing series. I think issues 1 through 4 gave me so many great moments that I've loved in recent comic book reading. There's places where it choked me up. There's places where I laughed really hard. And it played some incredible fan service to some comic tropes that we all know and love from the past. And so because of that, this has been just an amazing read. But this book 5, basically this is the culmination of the whole story, and this is where the big battle takes place. And so on that level, you can't beat this book. I mean, it really brings home everything that you want, the story to go to. I think Kurt and Tony Powers definitely lands the plane with this book. We get, some of the great battle stuff that you would recognize from a great Thor book, from the epic sweeping battles. And it had levity, it had even some comedy in the midst of it, and I really enjoyed it. So you're probably asking, if they landed the plane, what's my problem with the book? When it gets to the end, it just ends abruptly. And I think they could have spent a little more time with the characters and some of the emotion that should have came from what happens in, just a sweeping story like this. The battle ends, it just kind of gets all tied up, and then that's the end of the book with this epilogue that very anticlimactic. And I really wish they would have taken some time with the characters because there was so much heart and soul in books 1 through 4 with those characters that I really think that they missed an opportunity to really drive it home at the end of this book. And so it kind of felt trite the way they ended it. And so because of that, I was kind of disappointed. The other thing that really disappointed me is, when they advertised this book from the very beginning, they talked about how it was going to be a callback to Kirby. And I can see what they were saying about some of the artwork. There's some, poses and things like that are Kirby-esque. But really, I didn't catch the Kirby vibe from these books. And the artwork is, it's mediocre at best, I'll just be honest. And this one, what really bothered me is the action scenes felt like sketch storyboards that they just colored. And of all things, it looks like they sketched the storyboard with Sharpie. I'll try to put some images on the screen if I can of what I'm talking about, but I was really disappointed, and it just felt rushed. It felt like they didn't put any care into it, and I don't care how much coloring you put on a page like that, it's not going to make the page look any better. So I was definitely disappointed in some of the artwork inside of this book. I really wish they would have taken some time and fleshed out the emotions of what they're going on, the emotion of loss, the emotion of moving forward, the emotion of elation at the fact that, they won. Spoilers, they won. But they didn't do that. It was just kind of, the battle's over, it's kind of tied up, and that's the end of the story. And then there's an epilogue that gives it the opportunity to move forward. But I got to tell you, if they don't bring that heart and soul that they did in the first 4 books, then I don't think that they've really got anything. And so I don't know. I don't want to ding the book. I love Olympia. It's been one of my favorite reads of this last year, but I was really disappointed in the way that they ended the book. That's all I have to say about it. Out of the 5, this is, to me, my least favorite, even though they land the plane. So like I said, I'm on the fence a little bit about it, but definitely, it's the culmination of the story, and you can't miss that part of it. So definitely pick it up. So next up we have Kids, number 4. This one from Ablaze Studios. This one is written by Aurélien Ducoudray, and the artwork by Jocelyn Jared. Now, you guys know I love this book. I think it's just so much fun. I've said it before. Think of Sandlot meets The Walking Dead, and you have this book. And yes, it's set in the zombie apocalypse, and it's a bunch of kids with no parents around, and how they're surviving. And you got a bunch of kids who actually love it. It's almost like camping and hanging out with your friends. But alongside that, the book really doesn't focus on the zombie apocalypse, and I think that's one of my favorite things about it. It really focuses on the characters, and not only does it bring out what it's like to be a kid and the emotions that you're going through, and that prepubescent, hormones being all over the place, and trying to find yourself and who you are in the midst of all your peers around you. All that stuff is going on. inside of this book with the backdrop of a zombie apocalypse going on at the same time. And I've really been enjoying it. There's not a lot of zombie action inside of these books. It really focuses on the characters. And the artwork kind of reminds me of like old comic strip stuff, like Calvin and Hobbes type stuff, which is okay. I don't mind it. Normally I don't mind it in books like this, but it really works for this. And it's just a lot of fun. The characters in this particular book are basically moving away from the safety of their house and headed towards a mall for a birthday. And there's kind of a split that happens between their group because who has been the leader has been kind of keeping them all safe by having them there at the house. And you have most of the group wanting to go have fun at the mall, which pretty much means I think that they're going to be in some pretty bad danger coming up, going forward. But we'll see what happens. If you're not reading kids, it's definitely a different but cut above. And I've really been enjoying every issue so far. So if you haven't checked this one out, give this one a try. And so next we got another Image book, and this is Negan Lives. Yes, this is a one-shot from Image Comics, of course written by Robert Kirkman, and the art by Charlie Aldred. And this one and done, or one shot, was just a lot of fun. The book focuses on Negan, of course, who's living in exile by himself, and that exile and isolation is really getting to him. And all of a sudden, this beautiful girl shows up, seeking shelter, needing food, and which, is good for Negan. But really funny thing about it is her name is Lucy, and with the whole, burying of Lucille in a grave, it really plays into, what he needs as a human being. And hey, her name's Lucy. Anyway, what ensues really quickly is the fact that here's a beautiful girl. She's in need of shelter, in need of food, and within 2 hours of meeting him, she starts kind of making it look like she's attracted to him. And Negan, being street smart the way that he is, he's like, where are they? Because he knows he's about to get ambushed. And all the fun begins from that point. It was bombastic. It was funny. I don't know. I wasn't on the Walking Dead book when it was out. I kind of came onto it in the end when I started collecting comics. But I got to tell you, I can't read any dialogue inside of this book without hearing Jeffrey Dean Morgan's voice. How about you? And I just had so much fun. It was really a lot of fun. It does leave it open for future Negan stories to happen. I don't know if they'll go that direction, but if they do, I'm on board, because it was just such a fun read. And if they keep that type of stuff going on, I'm on board. So anyway, Negan Lives, definitely worth the one shot. They put this out to kind of support local comic shops. I think the proceeds go to comic shops instead of to Image Comics, for the most part anyway, which I thought was really cool of Robert Kirkman and Image to do. But anyway, Negan Lives, check it out. All right, next, folks, another Image book. We have Nailbiter Returns, number 2. This one, of course, written by Joshua Williamson and the art by Mike Henderson. Now, last month, this book was my pick of the week. And it was so good that I went out and I got the original Nailbiter series and had to start reading it, because it's just great stuff. I love Joshua Williamson's writing. Out of all the stuff I've ever seen by Mike Henderson, the stuff he does inside of these Nailbiter books is my favorite. Just absolute favorite stuff that he's done. Even the stuff he did on Daredevil, I choose this over that, because it's just that good. This particular book continues where we left off in the last book. What it looks like we're heading into is we have all of these copycat serial killers who are being stalked and killed by a serial killer who stalks and kills copycat serial killers. And so that's kind of what we have going on here. We have a beginning scene that has a couple being attacked by copycat serial killers, and they end up being serial killers themselves, and they're getting stalked as well. And all in the backdrop with the fact that the infamous Nailbiter, we're finding out, is indeed alive and locked in a police officer's basement. I don't know where they're going to go with this next, but I'm really enjoying it. I'm enjoying the dialogue. I'm enjoying the artwork. The colors are really good. I'm surprised they didn't pick up on who did the colors. I think it's Guzowski, I think. Anyway, Colors are amazing in this as well. If you're not reading these books, I would definitely recommend them. You don't have to read the original series to get into this, but I will say that it'll give you a much more rounded view of what's really going on. I'm reading the original series and I'm loving it, but I'm reading this right alongside of it until I get done with it, and I'd highly recommend it. Nailbiter Returns #2, awesome read. All right, folks, let's get into our pick of the week. And this week's pick is Firepower. This is the prelude to the actual Firepower comic book that's coming out. And I know this is pretty much a graphic novel, but it really does set up where we're going with the book. And wowzers. This is written by Robert Kirkman and the art by Chris Samney. I mean, just that duo alone coming together should put this book on your radar. But I will have to say that I know Robbie picked this from Pop. I know Robbie from Pop Culture Philosophers picked this as his pick of the week, and I'm bowing down. I have to say, Robbie, you are so amazingly right. This was such a fun read, and it's everything you would think from the team up of these two absolute amazing creators. So the story starts off with a guy who's seeking knowledge and he's trying to find a famous hidden temple up in the mountains of like the Himalayas, or somewhere in Tibet. I mean, that trope has been done 1,000 times, which puts you on familiar footing. And there are many things inside of this book that put you on familiar footing. When he gets to the actual temple and finds it, the clan that's there is the clan of the Flaming Fist. That's right, which brings you back on footing of the Iron Fist. It deals with clans, which puts you on familiar footing, like from the Avatar series, which is one of my favorite series, by the way. Watched every single episode. But there's hints of that inside of there. And so there's very familiar footing with old tropes, but the way they do it inside of this book, so much fun, and it really has nothing to do with those other stories. And so don't let the old tropes that have been done over and over again fool you. This is really good. It's a martial arts centric book, which that alone puts it a cut above. I think it's very hard to do a good martial arts book. It's been tried many times. A lot of times they just lose me. It's very hard to bring the action that you need to bring from a book like that and make it feel realistic. Chris Samney, very kinetic artwork inside of here, does a great job with the action. This book flows so amazingly well. It's $10. I mean, normally with these $10 books, they're not worth it. This is worth more than the cover price. It's over 100 pages, but it reads very quickly, very smoothly. I think I was done with it in probably an hour, and that was taking my time going through it. But the whole way through, I was loving it. It gripped me. It had me on the edge of my seat. It kept me guessing. And I just absolutely love it. There's some character archetypes inside of here that are ones that really have grabbed me over my lifetime, that he brings inside of this book. The master that he learns from is such a fun character, and I really cannot wait to read the rest of this comic book. I know that there is a issue 0 that is a free new comic book day that came out the same day that this was released. But my LCS, they shipped all those free comics to their warehouse and didn't have them available in the store. So I won't actually read the first issue until next week. But I got to tell you, this is already on my pull list going forward. I am so on board with this book. It was so much fun. Colors, artwork, dialogue, the way it's all brought together. This is one of those that you definitely want to have on your pull list, folks. It is such a fun read. Such a fun read. I can't praise it enough. This is the pick of the week. There it is. There you go. You can't beat it. It's amazing. So there you go, folks. There's our books for the week. And of course, we like to end the show with our panel of the week. And our panel of the week does come from the same book, from Firepower. And in the very beginning, when our main character gets to the temple, he basically lets the master of the temple know that he already has some knowledge. And so the master basically says, well, show me your knowledge, and tests him out in his martial arts ability, which ensues them going and fighting in all these different styles, which is a heck of a lot of fun. And so one of the panels really stuck out to me, and here it is in all its glory. It was just so much fun. There's something about the master, who's a comedic character, by the way. It was just so much fun to read him and just how badass he is. And this particular panel inside of it's actually the page inside of the book stood out to me. There it is, folks, in all its glory. Hope you enjoy it. Again, definitely pick up this book. You're going to love it. So there it is, folks. That's our show. It is the 4th of July. I want to wish you and your families all a happy 4th of July. Hope you're all staying safe. Of course, we still have COVID out there. So guys, please, 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 please stay safe. And it's kind of a quick show this week. That's okay. We'll be back in our full swing next week, next Saturday. Join me for having comics with my coffee here on Everything Comics. And remember, folks, hit that like and subscribe button. Really appreciate all your support. And look, you know me, always want to tell you, support your local comic shop and Excelsior. Take care, folks.